quick and simple how to make mashed potatoes from scratch. So how many potatoes do you need? Think of a baked potato. If you have 1, 2, 3 people in your family, as far as a serving size, how many potatoes do you need? So there are 2 of us, so this would be a baked potato. This one's not quite this size, so I did 3. Okay? So, real simple. Hold the potato like this. Make sure you always know where your fingers are. That's a key point in peeling potatoes. This does not take any time. There is absolutely no reason to ever use instant potatoes. I can tell you that right now. It takes a little while for you to get used to and be confident with the potato peeler. So now I'll do the other 2 and then I'll show you how I cut them. So this is the knife I use. You have your own comfort level with whatever knife. Baby, what is this knife called? What type of knife is this? I don't either. No matter what anybody says, they don't have to all be exactly the same size. You have to be close because they'll cook consistently in the pan, right? So this is what I do. Cut them about that wide. No time. This takes no time. I turn them into stacks, which of course it's being difficult the first time I do it for camera. Put them in stacks. They're being difficult just because I'm trying to video, right? And you can do this with a mass amount of potatoes, you can do it with 2, you can do it with 1. Because there's just 2 of us, and I'm making it, then I'm going to use a 2-quart saucepan. But if you have more people than that, or you have a bigger appetite, and just look at how many potatoes you feel like you could eat if they were baked potatoes, and how big, if they'll fit in the pan. So then I take my little stacks, right? Cut them down the middle. Cut them down this side and this side. Done. So 1 horizontal that way, and then 2 vertical, basically. And if the potatoes are smaller, these are pretty good sized potatoes, so they'll be roughly the same size. Oh! If you didn't see that, one of the potatoes just slipped off the counter onto the floor. So that's going in the trash. Okay, so those 3 potatoes, that's about half of a 2-quart saucepan. And I'm going to show you how much water I put in it. Okay, so I'm going to fill this up to probably 1 inch, maybe 1 inch, about like that, over the top of the potatoes. And that's how much water I'm going to put in there. We do use kosher salt, coarse kosher salt, and I'm going to say that's about probably 1/4 of a teaspoon to maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon. And I just put a little bit in the water. I don't do much because I don't want them to be crazy salty. Just wasted that whole handful of salt, but that's okay. And I'm going to put this on the stove. I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I don't want it to boil over. We're going to turn it up to almost totally high, and I'll come in here once it starts boiling and check it and make sure that it is the rolling or the boiling I want. That potatoes like this in this amount usually take 20 minutes, 18 to 20 minutes to cook, and I'll show you how they look. You can actually tell by the sound of the water boiling for me, but I've been making them a long time. Okay, so that's a rolling boil, and it's close to done, but I bet you it's not quite there. So I'm going to take a fork, and you can see sometimes, depending on where you live, you're going to have starch in the water or minerals or something come up, so you might get some foaminess, but I can tell by looking at it and the sound of the boil that they aren't done. They're close. So poke them. If they break apart easily, they're close. If they break apart easily, then they're done, but it's not quite there. Turn it back up a little bit. So I'm going to let that go for like another 2-3 minutes, and then we'll mash them up. Good. Put it on there. Shake it out a little. I didn't get it popped out all the way. That's okay though. Steamer, steamer. Pop it in there. Okay, so depending on your pan, this is a plastic potato masher because this is a coated pan. If you're using stainless, use your stainless one. I always put just salt and pepper. This pepper, little green guy's pepper. Roof, roof. Pepper. And I just sprinkle it all over so I can see it. This is the salt. He's broken. Poor little guy. On my channel, this looks like Lola. So put some salt in there. I usually use, like maybe for this amount, I'll use 2 tablespoons of butter. And so butter, salt, and pepper. But if you're eating something that's very flavorful and very rich, you may not want to use heavy cream in your potatoes that night. You may just want to do it with butter and salt and pepper. So I put the butter and whatever spices I'm going to put in it first, and I mash it up so the butter will melt while it's hot. Oh, see, this is what happens when you're filming, because you get nervous. Anyway, and for that amount of potatoes, let's measure out. For that amount of potatoes, just a little bit of, so I'm going to use this tablespoon just to see how much it is that I put in there. There's one. I want to say 2 tablespoons, maybe 3. I'll put 3. So 3 tablespoons of heavy cream or milk, and it's to what you want your texture to be or what you want your potatoes to be flavored like. Different heavy creams, some are sweet and some aren't. I think this one's really sweet. This is the only one we could get. If you want these, your potatoes to be more whipped, you can use a mixer, but potato mashers work just great. We don't like ours too whipped. For this particular meal that I'm making, I might add 4, but I just did. I think I'll add 1 more. So 4. Wow, I've never done that before. Now I know. It'll make it, the heavy cream will make it a little bit creamier and fluffier. And once it's mashed up, done.